By clicking on this video, you're one of three individuals. Firstly, you may be someone who has their own issues with Modern Survivor and want to see if I share your criticisms. Secondly, you may feel like I'm being a quote-unquote hater, but no, I am simply just feeling Survivor standards have dropped and therefore I feel entitled to have an opinion. Or number three, you're associated with CBS. Because hi, I know you watch the videos. In which case I'll be adding my own personal solutions to problems identified on social media from my commenters or just my own gripes. And let's just say, if you're a long-time fan of the channel, you know I'm probably Survivor's biggest critic. Needless to say, I'm pretty qualified when it comes to picking out issues on the show. The first issue with modern day Survivor is the 3-tribe format, and I've started with this because it's the easiest one for Survivor production to fix. Just don't make it 3 tribes of 6. It's that simple. With only 6 people on each tribe, it makes voting options and numbers so small. As a result, we've seen in these modern day pre-merges that the main power structure, when established, never breaks. The entire format doesn't incentivize the majority to rock the boat, and instead people on the bottom have very little agency to get themselves better positioned. Compare this to 2 tribes of 9, a starting format you can also do with an 18-person cast. With the bigger numbers, contestants have more inbuilt agency to perform blindsides, and we get the 2 most interesting rounds in the game, the final 7 and the final 9 rounds. These rounds allow for the 4-3, 3-2-2, 5-4 and 4-3-2 rounds respectively, which result in amazing blindsides historically. By starting with tribes of 6, you're bypassing these incredible rounds. But I know there'll be people saying, hang on Bandit, I've watched seasons like Philippines, Cagayan, Korong, and they're some of my favourite seasons, and the dynamics within those seasons were extremely interesting. And they all started with 3 tribes. And that's when number 2 comes into play. Swaps, or rather, the perception of swaps. And I mean proper swaps, not whatever Survivor 44 gave us. But I'll get to that later. Swaps are an integral part of Survivor, first introduced over 20 seasons ago, that keeps the momentum of the pre-merge and can give some players a second chance. Despite some players getting swap screwed, this twist is seen as almost universally healthy for the show. So of course Survivor got rid of it. Well, they did try in Survivor 44 to modernise the swap. For lack of a better term, this took one contestant from each tribe, the producers slapped them with bricks of C4, and told them good luck. It was swap screwing them, but first they got to take someone down with them. It's definitely a worse version. And on the topic of pre-merge eliminations, here is a list of every pre-merge boot from seasons 41 to 44. Jackson and Matthew have a little asterisk because they were taken out due to non-game related conditions, and Maddie was idled out, so she has her own little asterisk. Now let's look at seasons 43 to 44. Yeah, I think you know what I'm about to talk about. Contestants on Survivor 43 and 44 saw there were no swaps in the prior seasons and played to retain perceived challenge strength within the tribe. If you aren't booting the perceived weakest on your tribe every time you go to Tribal, then you're less likely to win the next immunity challenge, which means you go to Tribal, which means your optimal move is to boot the perceived weakest again, and the cycle continues. Put it this way, you can have the best relationship with someone not great at challenges in your tribe. Would you rather enter the merge with 5 friends, or only one best friend in a game all about numbers? A fellow Survivor YouTuber, I Am Beans, has a fantastic video linked in the description where he talks about the issue more in depth, so you can check him out after this video if it is a topic that interests you. Nevertheless, it just seems like the show is trying so hard to spice up twists that we're completely fine as is. The adventures seem like modern Survivor's attempt to match elements of the tribe swap, such as cross-tribe communication, but it's so much worse. These adventures take up far more time than swaps, bombard the contestants with advantages, and it's not even consistent. At the first summit, you may only get a bank your vote advantage, while the other person gets the inheritance advantage. Individuals a week later then may get no game advantages, and instead food. While swaps are the best way to solve the aforementioned issues, there's another way they could have gone about it that I'm shocked they haven't. In Survivor 44, Claire never participated in an immunity challenge, sparking this line from Jeff on his podcast.
In this newer era, we sometimes only have one challenge, so that rule doesn't really have the same bite. And therefore, Claire has been able, or was able, to sit out of several challenges. And I do think it's something that we do need to put on our
Yeah.
whiteboard, Brittany, and
Yeah.
we need to examine if maybe we just change that because it does need to be updated.
By preventing the contestants from sitting out in back-to-back challenges, it prevents one tribe from steamrolling challenges. For instance, they can sit out their weakest challenge performer in the first challenge, but at the second one it has to be the second and the third worst, and at the next challenge the better performers have to start sitting out. Sure, it's technically another modern twist, but this has the upside of allowing more than 5 women to actually make the merge. And on the topic of that, let's just get on to modern twists. Now, admittedly, I'm not critiquing every twist. For example, the shot in the dark does add suspense to otherwise simple eliminations, even if I'm not the biggest fan of the immune scrolls being luck dependent. Other smaller advantages, like the bank your vote, season 43 and 44 idols aren't bad, as well as the ship wheel dilemma that I may like more if used more sparingly. But many of the twists seem poorly thought out. For instance, contestants with a non-activated Beware idol lost their vote and couldn't remedy it with extra votes, despite it literally being an extra vote. Some of the twists also have production straight up lying to contestants. The infamous Hourglass twist took immunity away from people that were immune after the merge challenge, as stated by Jeff. In Survivor 44, Jeff said none of the winning tribe could have a say on who went home, only for Heidi to find an advantage, allowing her to change one contestant's vote on the other tribe. It's not a good look. Plus, when you set a precedent for the show not telling the full truth about twists and announcing twists at the last second, it's only going to force contestants to play more safe and not make big moves, which the show loves. What's the point of them throwing out a name only for that person to suddenly become immune? When the community said Survivor US needed to become more like Australian Survivor, they meant the amazing set pieces for the challenges, cinematography, or unique villains. Not the last minute terrible twists. Not to mention, there are too many twists to keep track of. Having a Google document to record Survivor information went from a fun side project to now a necessity if you want to keep track of what is happening. As clarified by one of my commenters, there are so many advantages that even the superfans can't keep track. Many of the Survivor US twists also come off as manufactured. Production designed these twists to be shocking, and this leads into one of the biggest issues people have with the modern era. Let the contestants play the game. Before the contestants even set foot on the beach, Modern Survivor has already created several twists to force contestants to create TV that they deem entertaining. The issue is that this takes away integrity from the show. Both the Do or Die and Season 44 split tribal twists are production telling the contestants they think they can create a more entertaining product than them. The same can be said for the Final 4 Firemaking Challenge, still being used over a traditional Final 4 vote-off. I'm not saying all the twists are bad. For example, the Hidden Immunity Idol and Extra Vote allow players to use the power whenever. It's when a cast has a twist forced on them by production which causes the issues. We even see this in the final tribal of all places. The jurors used to have the opportunity to ask the finalists a question personal to them, and it was a good send-off to the contestants eliminated earlier in the game. Nowadays, the jury is a collective, with a format that suppresses individuality. Even Jeff now announces the general talking points for the jury to ask finalists, and he picks out jurors to start the new line of questioning. This is how little Survivor trusts their modern cast.
Roxroy, I can't think of a survivor in recent memory who's enjoyed the physical part of the game as much as you. So why don't you get us started in this section?
The modern day casting has also been met with varying criticism. That being said, I do have to give CBS credit in making their cast so diverse, because I find it enjoyable seeing individuals with different backgrounds, cultures and values interacting in a social strategic world. There are also individuals that feel Survivor should be casting more recruits. In fact, there is a vocal minority in the community that feels they should be casting more models, because that will solve all of modern day Survivor's issues. More hot women. That's it. But the casting of recruits is something a lot of the community feels should return. The hope is that the recruits will play less optimally and more chaotically. I personally don't feel this is a necessary change to modern Survivor. Recruits are still required to learn how to play Survivor before going out, and while yes, we have had some great recruits in the past like Yul, Tyson and Courtney, we've also had some massive duds like Hope, Leaf and Erica. The list goes on. So we could end up with a very entertaining figure or a person that might as well have been a massive green screen. Instead, I think casting individuals with different amounts of Survivor knowledge would be a great way to have different playstyles while still allowing an entire cast of Survivor fans. You can cast individuals that are super fans, casual fans, people that grew up watching Survivor and then watched Survivor with their families, people who have watched the older seasons and only recently got back into Survivor, to people that only got into the show during COVID or beyond. I feel Survivor 42 had the cast with the biggest diversity of game knowledge and therefore produced the more interesting dynamics. Moreover, I feel Survivor could expand its age ranges. It definitely has gotten better since the new era, but it would be nice to see more teens and individuals in their 50s, assuming they're medically sound. Age is a big factor on the show. For example, someone in their teens may play an advantage differently to someone in their 40s. Someone in their 50s may also catch social cues that someone in their 20s didn't. And on the topic of identity, my next point is the modern era's identity, or rather lack of identity. It may be hard to believe, but in the olden days of 2020 and before, seasons were differentiated through themes. Now admittedly, some themes were goofy, like HHH or having Sandra and Rob give you a piece of paper on a remote island. Nevertheless, they at least hyped up the next season for the viewer. People would be excited to see what relics would return for Ghost Island, or if a David could slay Goliath. But apart from a new logo and a bigger number, there's nothing to excite casual viewers to return nowadays. There's no hook. I know individuals within the community have said that to add identity back onto the show, survivors should be visiting new locations rather than just staying in Fiji. Now I'm going to be going into more depth as to why staying in Fiji presents issues for the show later on, but for now I will say I don't completely disagree with survivors staying in Fiji. Would I prefer Survivor to visit a new location? Absolutely, but I can understand why production is staying in Fiji. They have a good relationship with the government, it costs less, and it's far easier for the contestants and crew to traverse the islands because production has been using them for the past 10 seasons. That's fine. That being said, as I've already stated in other videos, if production wants to stay in Fiji, they should use the location more in its theme. Fiji is rich in theology, mythology, and history that can be baked into Survivor seasons to give them more identity. The Pearl Islands, for example, had the badass pirate theme, and that's because production was inspired by the location and its history of pirate-themed warfare. And if for whatever reason production doesn't want to relate the theme to Fiji, then they can still create an interesting backstory that the contestants can world build with. For example, in Borneo, the contestants were made to believe they were plane crash victims, inspired by the book Lord of the Flies. It resulted in many fun survival challenges, such as the contestants having to rescue Kelly and Colleen, dangling from a tree in their parachutes, and all the contestants played into this theme.
I need to go up more. Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Are you loose? Go. Kelly, come to me.
I know people that are big Survivor fans that are already starting to mix up Survivor 41 and 42 contestants because there is absolutely nothing to differentiate those two seasons. Plus, for new fans, when they see the next season's trailer, apart from a few glimpses of new twists, the only thing to get them back and watching the show is a fresh cast of 18 contestants with some quips. That's it. Another massive turnaway for fans of the show is one of the biggest criticisms within the community, and that's the pacing. Most episodes of Survivor are 60 minutes, but if we cut out American advertisements, which we love so much, that's already us down to 43 minutes. Then we have to subtract the 8 minutes for the immunity challenge, 7 minutes for tribal council, and we're already down to a mere 28 minutes. But we're talking about Modern Survivor here, so that's about 4 more minutes for journeys, dilemmas, or other episodic twists. Considering it's a 3-tribe format, the show has to sum up 2 days in 8 minutes each episode. As a result, many tribe scenes feel repetitive. For instance, episode 3 of season 44 contains contestants finding fake hidden immunity idols hidden by contestants that unlock the birdcage on each tribe. It also means that tribe life has to be told to the viewer at a breakneck pace through a series of quick cuts and flashbacks. This then juxtaposes the extremely slow pace and sympathetic backstories of a select few contestants every episode that feel like a sudden speed bump on a highway to many viewers. Not to say I don't like the inclusion of the contestants' sympathetic backstory, but it doesn't match the quote-unquote fast-paced nature of the modern show, in my opinion. And to be honest, some episodes come off as if the twist designers are fighting with the editors of the show. Certain twists are so lengthy yet necessary to include that some episodes don't even show one of the 3 tribes. Compare this to the 2-tribe format, which I talked about earlier on in this video. If we kept the seasons the same, just with 2 tribes of 9, then that instead allows for roughly 12 minutes of camp content for each tribe. It might not sound like a lot, but considering the pre-merge is 5 episodes long, that's 20 more minutes we get to learn about the 2 tribe dynamics compared to 3. However, Survivor seem to have acknowledged this issue, and season 45 will be expanding the show into a 90-minute format, which should allow for better rounded episodes that give us more character development. On the topic of more, I'm going to be mashing multiple perspectives into this penultimate talking point. A lot of people in the community have been beating around the bush or have briefly brought up this topic, but I have one word: Survivor is becoming cheap. If you're active on social media such as Discord, Reddit, Facebook or Twitter, and if you're in Survivor discussion rooms, you'll know these individual points I'm about to say are brought up very often. Compared to season 40 and before, the game lasts almost an entire 2 weeks less. Production continuously reuses old challenges with minimal changes, plus the rewards post and pre-merge have been scaled back. Old school Survivor typically had rewards scheduled for every episode, even though some didn't get televised. These rewards were fantastic, featuring helicopter rides, spa retreats, and so on. Even Cambodia and Worlds Apart use their location to create truly once-in-a-lifetime experiences for contestants. In Modern Survivor, we have 2 to 3 standard food rewards for the entire post-merge, and these all take place in a remote shack known as the Sanctuary. The older reunion shows with all the cast alongside excited fans are now jury and on exclusive segments tagged on to the finale on the island. It contains heartbroken finalists that have to talk about Survivor after having their dreams ripped away from them, when all they probably want is a refreshing shower and some good food in peace. As one of my commenters noted, the after show is poorly done. It should be the day after, not right after. It is very unfair to the final 3. We've lost Ponderosa videos, we went from 20 contestants to 18, the same Fijian Islands are continuously reused, the cast intros plus episodic recaps are gone, and the rewards are less impressive. Now you ask yourself what Modern Survivor has done to increase the production value of the show for the viewer. In essence, it feels like Modern Survivor has downgraded, lessened, or completely removed elements of the show that made it look so well produced. Despite production's best effort to hype this bare bones theme up as better, the product comes off as a pale imitation of what it used to be, in my opinion. If one season had some of these issues and the next season had some other of these issues, the community wouldn't be this critical. After all, every Survivor season has its own set of issues, and fans of the show are content with that. But these issues that I covered apply to all the modern era seasons. Why? Because the format is repetitive. 3 tribes of 6, boat right in, mat chat, simplistic marooning challenge, sweat vs savvy for the losers, a medley of journeys, 12 to 13 person merge that technically isn't a merge, a split tribal at 10 to 11, some twists that are shoehorned in, the final 5 go to a new island, final 4 fire making, a final 3 with an 8-man jury, and a live reunion show on the island. Spoilers for every Modern Survivor season. It gets to the point where we, the viewers, begin questioning if we should be watching the next season if we already know a substantial amount about it. It's a predictable structure and even considered by many to be lazy. This laziness is probably most notable with the challenges. No new challenges have been created, and the same 10 or so puzzles are used. Many individuals, as a result, like Evie and Carson, broke puzzles in their respective season because they recreated them at home. I don't blame them for this strategy, and I honestly would do the same, but I do blame production, especially when they seemingly endorse this behaviour. Challenges are becoming less about natural skill or finding out impressive loopholes in the moment, and instead are replaced by individuals memorising techniques before flying out to Fiji. Well, it would be insane to get production to make 20 entirely new challenges every season. I do want there to be some level of innovation. There's only so many times you can watch different people do the same challenge course, season after season, before it becomes uninteresting. With 4 seasons completed, the new era has presented several problems. While I've done my best to identify the issues alongside possible solutions that the show can use, let me know in the comments if there's anything I've missed. A massive shout out to other creators in the community for creating videos similar to this one, as with more voices we can ensure that the show irons out these issues in future seasons. On screen now is another video talking about modern day Survivor, and this time it's an All Stars 2.0 cast that people really enjoyed. Nonetheless, enjoy your day, and peace!